Hello and welcome to another installment of Seydel Sits Down With. Today I have on the show Junky Comic's owner, I suppose, and runner, Vlada, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation, your last name, Edirippulige, Pugli, I should say.
Edirippulige.
Edirippulige?
Honestly,
Sorry.
That's the closest anyone has ever gotten.
Yes, well...
You did good.
It's now on record, so we can do it any time. Okay, so I'll jump right into it. Question 1, what led you to open the store, and where did the name Junky Comics come from?
It was a very selfish quest.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't find the books that I wanted, and the only way that I could get them was if I had a wholesale account.
Okay.
And so I just started getting books in for like my friends and I that were like into the same things. And then I realized that it might have been something that a lot of people were into. So I started an online shop, just selling like purely like indie alternative books and like art books and stuff like that. And then somehow, like, you know, probably a massive mistake, I like found a shop and sort of got myself into this.
How did you afford it? Like, it must be
Loans.
Insane rent and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
assume.
and I worked full time for ages and like had savings. Again, somehow, I don't know how.
Right.
But yeah, like banks give you loans when they probably shouldn't. So, but I was also lucky because I started so small. I had no overhead. So when I was doing the online shop, I just was ordering whatever I needed, and because I started selling stuff, I kind of built it all up. But yeah, having a physical store is very, very expensive.
That leads into the second question. What are the sort of duties that are involved in keeping this sort of up and running?
Just like not burning it down.
Cool.
Especially because there's a lot of paper.
There's a lot of wood too.
A lot of wood, a lot of paper, a lot of lacquer on the wood.
Right.
So yeah.
Very fun.
Well, I guess just like general, I've had to learn about tax, like for the first time properly in my entire life, like actually understand what tax is and how to do it, even though I still kind of don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, look, I still, it goes over my head, but somehow every end of financial year I somehow put something through that they accept. But I guess also just being here all the time is kind of just like being here every day of my life.
Is it like your baby? Like you sort of, it's a part of you?
I
suppose? Yeah.
Oh, totally. I keep comparing it to like when customers bring their children in. I'm like, oh, I have a baby too.
You're inside of it.
Yeah. And they're just like, it's not the same.
No. My baby can talk to me.
Yeah, and my baby's like, like a human and, you know, isn't just four walls. But it is my baby. Against all odds created it, so I suppose that's something, I guess. What's the Brisbane comic scene like? Is it big? Because I know there's this, but I know there's 2 other comic stores in the city that I know. There's 3 in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's 2 in Annerley, and then there's like one. There's heaps.
Shit, I didn't know that.
The one, and like it's good because they all do different. They all specialize in different things. Like you know, there's one that's like purely manga, like anime manga, centric, and then you know the other ones are like more like DC Marvel hard hitter stuff. And then there's Secret Identity, which is in the city, which is run by 2 women, which is like awesome.
Cool.
And they do a lot, like they do a lot more like gamey stuff, game related stuff, and also like Marvel DC things, and they have a lot of local comics. But you know what, like since opening the shop, I'm realizing how big the scene in Brisbane actually is. And I think it's really cool because like there are a lot of young people that live in Brisbane. Like this is the whole reason, like when I was looking to open the shop, people were saying like you should do it in Melbourne. And I was thinking like we have young people in Brisbane that are into cool things and that, you know, like to do art and like to do music and like there's a scene here. So why can't it work in Brisbane if it works in Melbourne? And it does, like people make stuff here, and then when people see people make stuff, they want to make more stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
sure,
so it kind
they
of
know it's alive.
Exactly. So it's definitely existent and it's definitely growing, especially with like a lot of people migrating to Brisbane now because other cities are just too expensive.
What, is Brisbane the most cost-effective city, would you say?
I mean...
Because I heard Sydney's like super exy,
but
Melbourne is kind of like a Brisbane alternative.
Yeah, Melbourne's... Yeah. It depends where you live in Melbourne, I guess. Yeah. But I've had a lot of people coming into the shop recently that have been like, I've just moved from Melbourne because I wanted to live in a house with a backyard and I wanted warm weather.
Right. Yeah, of course,
and I'm like,
weather.
Yeah, well...
But they will live to regret that decision come summer.
Oh, mate.
Terribly
We
humid.
are still living in it. It is a nightmare. No, but yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's definitely a city with a lot of growth potential.
And where do you think that scene kind of lies? Like, there's the Zine Symposium. I think it's run by 4ZZZ or sponsored by 4ZZZ.
Yeah, I think 4ZZZ sponsor it. It's run by like a collective, the Zix collective. So it's the Zine and Indie Comic Symposium, and it's once every year, and it's run by this collective of like artists and writers, and they put on this fair every year to like a zine and comics fair. Yeah. So that's been going for ages, but even like there's been a lot more smaller things popping up as well. So every year there's like at least, maybe 10 or 15 little zine fairs or zine related events. I've been doing a lot more launches here in the last couple of years.
Because you take zine submissions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So a lot of people have been like, launching their work here, or just having like meetups and things like that.
What goes into a launch? Like, is it just the one zine, or do they have a few?
It depends. Like, everyone's different. Like, I've had ones where someone's just launching like one book or one comic, one zine. Yeah. Or I've had, and then like selling other things as well. Some people like do exhibitions, and then with the exhibition do a book. They're like the overachievers. Right. And I also had like someone release a book, like a comic, and then they also did a little gig, and they put on an exhibition. Yeah,
that's really cool.
People astound me, honestly. Like, people always say like I must work so hard, but it's like, no, I just like sit behind the desk. Everyone else does everything, and I'm just like, I'm just lucky to have like people that want to put shows on and stuff, because it means I don't have to seek it out.
That's true. Where did your interest in comics come from?
I guess like art. Like I've always been interested in art, and when I was a kid, I started reading comics. I lived in Port Macquarie at the time, and there was like 2 comic books in the library. Yeah, and
just two.
Just two comic books in the library, and so I read them a lot, and like I found, I don't know, I really liked the marriage of art and prose. Yeah, exactly. Sure. So that really got me into it. But it wasn't until I think like I was at uni when a few friends of mine sort of showed me some more alternative stuff, and not just like superhero-y stuff, but like memoirs.
Kind of like what? Do you have anything in particular? Or?
Like, Mouse. Have you read Mouse? Yeah.
I've read bits of it, but yeah.
Oh, and it's fantastic, and it's like won a Pulitzer Prize, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of comics out there, and a lot of graphic novels out there that aren't just your typical sort of X-Men. No. Superman stuff, and that's what I wanted to sort of bring with the shop. And now they're studying, like, I know that they're studying a few different graphic novels at university, and they're studying graphic novels in high school.
Cool.
So it's not just like a kids reading comics kind of thing. It's like a legitimate form of...
Yeah, it's definitely a medium, but I think people forget that because they lump it into the superhero category, and they're like, oh, it's just for kids.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous because I find that like a lot of kids, like I've never been... I've always been a visual learner, and that's why like reading graphic novels was really helpful for me, because it like got me into art, and it made like there was movement in reading a graphic novel, and it wasn't, I don't know, it was something that I could really relate to as like a kid that was just could never sit still. And I find that like a lot of the kids that come in here and buy stuff are the same. Like they can really, they get a lot out of it, and it's not, it doesn't just have to, it doesn't have to just be like for kids. It's still really weird when people say that to me, like, just for children. It's like, no, there's some really weird stuff in here.
And dark shit.
Yeah, like super dark.
That leads me to my next question. Can you name some of your favorite artists or writers and why you like them so much?
Okay, so I think my favorite my favorite graphic novel is by Marjane Satrapi, and it's called Persepolis. And it was also turned into a film, like an animated film. And it's basically, it's an autobiography of her life. She lived through the Iranian Revolution, and she's like mad. She's mad. She's so cool.
Okay.
And it just, you know, she tackles, there's a lot of social commentary that runs through Persepolis, and she talks about like gender roles and like living as like because she moves from Iran and then moves to Paris, and she talks about like women of color and like feminism and being a Muslim, and it's fantastic. And she writes and draws, so she's also another overachiever.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So that's probably my favorite graphic novel. In terms of like art style, I really like Charles Burns, who is was quite indie back in the day, but now he's quite like one of the big dogs in like the alternative comic scene, and he has like a 70s pulp horror vibe to his drawings, and it's super creepy, and I really, really, really like it. It's like so disgusting and strange. But God, there's so many. Like Art Spiegelman, who wrote Mouse, of course, not only a fantastic artist, but also like has such a way of like putting something like Mouse, which is about Auschwitz and his experience, well, his grandfather's experience during the war, putting that into like a graphic novel. Like it's a real talent to be able to do something like that. And so I could go on forever, but I mean, obviously there's so many wonderful Australian writers and comic book artists as well. It doesn't just have to be the American ones. And especially in Brisbane, like there's so many wonderful writers. Like I'm not going to claim him from Brisbane, but Simon Hanselman, who's one of the sort of the top guns in the alternative comic scene at the moment, was from Tasmania.
Oh, cool.
And now he's like living in Seattle and killing it. So
awesome.
So there's a lot to come, I think, especially from Australia, because we sit on our craft for so long, because it's, you know, we're so isolated from everything.
Yeah.
And then like pump out all of this amazing stuff into the world, and people like, oh, I forgot that Australia existed.
Is there anything recent that is getting you going? Like any recent stuff that you're really enjoying?
Like in terms of
like
books,
comics?
or
Yeah. Like stuff coming out now, or like in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That you got into the store, I suppose, and you really dug.
Well, actually, I just recently came back from overseas. I spent 6 weeks in Europe visiting family, and I visited a guy who runs a small publication in Moscow.
Oh, okay.
And really cool stuff. The name of the publication is Sputnik Cat Press.
Cool.
And so he publishes like anthologies of Russian artists' work into books called Personage. So there's Personage 1, Personage 2. They're about to put out Personage 3. And so that's been really cool to, like, I got a bunch of stuff when I was over there, and I brought it back, and it's been really, really cool to sort of show people in Brisbane, like, because it not that it looks the same, but it has the same vibe as things that people are doing here. So to be able to like bring something from like the other side of the world, and especially a part of the world that a lot of people have a very interesting view about, like Russia especially. And to bring it back and be like, look at what people are doing over there, it's the same, like we're all the same. So that's been really exciting to be able to like share that. I want to get more stuff like that in, and get more small like little art books and things from all over the place. I've been contacting lots of little publishers, but it is hard being so far away.
How does the import process work? Do you just contact them and then they send it to you? Or
pretty much, especially the small ones, because they don't have to deal with any sort of distribution company, they just do it themselves. But then that leads to like pretty, you know, freight is insane.
Shipping costs must be killers. The other day, this is a YouTube channel that I like, it's a comic book channel, and I was going to send them some books. It was like $60. And I took off the heaviest book, and it was still like $50, and I'm like, forget it. I'm sorry, it's too expensive.
That's it, it's insane. Well, that's why like it actually worked out really well when I met up with Chris in Moscow, because we were trying to work out shipping costs, and shipping costs are always more, if not same, or if not more than the price of the actual stock.
Yeah, for sure.
So he was just like, oh, it's going to be this much. And I was like, how about I just come to Moscow?
And then just get
because that's cheaper.
Right, jeez.
But yeah, so it's just it's like the bitter pill that you have to swallow as like a small indie comic book store owner in Brisbane, Australia. And if you want to have stuff like that, it's just... But the good thing is that there is an understanding, like especially people that come in and that see the stuff that, you know, that is imported from overseas. People do understand, like, why it's not $5, you know.
Yeah. I know Comics, etc. In the city, they had like American label price for a while, but then like after a couple of years, they were like, we can't do this anymore.
I was baffled by the ability of them being able to do that. And then people coming in here being like, well, Comics, etc. have American prices. I'm like, look at me, look at how tiny this shop is.
I'm just one person.
Yeah. Like, if like all the air was cut off into this shop, like I would suffocate in no time at all. Like it is tiny in here. And yeah, so I don't know, that, you know, you do get those people that kind of like don't get it, but I mean, I understand. We live in a capitalist society where everything's so accessible. So,
right.
And we live in a society of book depository where there's free shipping. So yeah, I'm surprised I've survived this long, to be honest.
Is there any ways that the public can get more involved with Junky Comics, do you think?
Just come say hi. Every event that we put on is free. Okay. So, and we've got a bunch of exciting events lined up for April, and in the middle of the year, some cool stuff coming up that I'm really excited about. So, yeah, just engaging with the shop. Like I get a lot of people that come in and they're like, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm like, it's okay, just come in. Like, because even the simple as like people seeing people in here helps me. Exactly. Or tell your friends that like comics, and it doesn't have to just be a transactional process. It can just be engaging with the shop and, you know, telling people about it, because that's what I understand what it's like not to have money. God, we've all been there. We've all been students. Right. Yeah. So I totally get it. But yeah, events are always free. I've got a third birthday coming up, which I still haven't really worked out what I'm going to do for it yet, but it's probably just going to be like a little party, which will also be free.
Probably on Facebook, like get you on Facebook and keep
Facebook
posted
and Instagram. They're the two that I mainly use, Facebook and Instagram. I have a website as well, which I do update, but I don't like update events on there. Yeah. Just because
Facebook is so convenient.
Yeah, and also like I'm not very good at like website stuff, so whenever
is that coding and whatever?
Oh, it's barely coding. It's like it's the simplest thing, but every time I do it, I just make it looks like a year 6 like PowerPoint project every time I try and like put out a newsletter or something. So, but yeah, Facebook and Instagram is the best way to do it. And on Instagram, you'll probably see 10,000 photos of my dog.
Well, shifting gears now, you're a bass player in a Brisbane band called Major Leagues. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the band and what they're doing right now?
It's an interesting time in the band right now because our lead singer's just moved to Paris for a year. Yeah, so she's just like living over there, eating baguettes, doing whatever it is she's doing. Yeah. So we're kind of we're still playing shows without her because we've got like 2 lead singers in our band. So we're just going to play a couple shows without her. So, but we released our first album last year. We've been a band for about 6 years now in Brisbane, which is, I think playing in a band in Brisbane is like the funnest city to play in a band because you know everybody and everyone's like your pal and you know that people will come to your shows because they'll feel guilty because you went to their show. Right. So, we've just been like, I did a music degree and that's where I met Anna, who plays in the band as well, and we sort of started this little thing and it's been going for a while and done lots of tours. But everyone's sort of, it's I don't know, it's sort of slowed down a lot now because I think myself and Jake, our drummer, has his own business as well. So he owns a little chicken shop that actually opened today in the Valley called Lucky Egg Fried Chicken. Cool. And it's in the Valley Mall underneath Black Bear Lodge. Little shout out there.
Plug there, yeah.
Yeah, but so he also is like, you know, has no free time. Less free time than me because like I just have to sit behind a desk. He has to like make food.
Yeah.
That's like a lot more work.
Stay on top of it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So everything's kind of like slowed down a little bit. That's why Anna's taken a year off, but we will be playing more shows and yeah, it is very nice and very fun to play in a band.
Yeah.
And the Brisbane music scene is wonderful. We've got lots of great musicians. So.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up, but I'll just ask you, is there anything else going on that you want people to know about?
Well, I have a really cool exhibition coming up next month in April, which I'm really, 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 really excited about. And I'm not going to say too much about it yet because we haven't like officially put it out, and also because I don't want to describe the event and then the artist be like, "That's not it." So, but I will say that our local artist is putting on like a little installation exhibition in the shop, which is going to be very fun.
Yeah.
So it's our next exhibition, so you won't be able to miss it, and it'll be up for a few weeks, I'm assuming. So that's the next thing that's coming up. But I don't know. I guess just there'll be exhibitions and events this year. This year's going to be a good one. I've decided it's going to be a good year. So
fantastic. Positive thinking, you know.
Positive thinking. We're going to do stuff, and I'm going to stay open for another year.
Yes.
I'm going to try.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And stay tuned for her Facebook page, Junky Comics, and the Major Leagues has a Facebook page, I assume.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, and a band camp too?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So check out that, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.